Little flicker of power and internet, and I think everything's okay. Sorry we dropped off there for a second. Odd. Weird. All right. As long as we're all back now. We were in the midst of bouncing some stuff here. Let's get this second sample done. Definitely going to be ready for no big surprises in 2021, right? When this year wraps up, we won't have, I mean, of course, there won't be any like wildfires or protests or anything like that happening because we'll solve all of our problems. But there won't be any like power outages or anything either, right? All right, let's get the bit crusher on this one. So we'll call this one complex 2. All right. So that is done. Let's go grab those files. And remember, can do some feedback today. If you guys want to do a little feedback, toss something up, toss a link up in the chat. We will put ears on it. Cool. All right, cool. So I'm going to pack those up. I'm going to toss in a couple extra little goodies to kind of beef it up. So you guys get a nice little atmospheric treat to play with. And for those of you who missed the little update earlier in the last stream, I did get a chance to update everybody's points in the loyalty store. Gave y'all some more OMI credits. The original gang of followers that helped get us to affiliate so quickly. Big thank you to all of you. You can grab the granular toppers pack in the store right now. So let's see here. If you head on over to the Discord, you'll see a little message there about it. And if you go to the loyalty store over at OhmLab.tv, you will see the loyalty store right there. The way it works is you redeem your points, and you'll be given a download code, and you just go grab that. Thank you for the sub, Trance in Your Pants. Go ahead and enter that code at the OhmLab website. Just ohmlabmusic.com/DL for download, and you'll have a little code enter window there, a little field to enter the code, and you just enter the code and you download your pack for free. So that's the way that works. Just let me know if there's any issues with that. Reminder, if anybody decides to subscribe at Tier 3, you do get to pick out a sound pack of your choosing from the website every single month. You didn't get a code, Paul. Hang tight. You know, who was it? Was it Nick that said that he didn't get a code? I think Junior got his code. I'm not sure exactly who all is claimed yet, but I'll just send one to you, Paul. Anybody else claim the granular toppers and not receive a code? It should be spitting out codes. Should be. In a perfect world. But user error runs rampant around here, so let's see. There you are, Paul. I'm just going to shoot one over to you. Take care of it right now while I'm thinking about it so I don't forget. And this was granular. I also saw you pop in there and use the coupon to get some new stuff. So I hope you found some good inspiration and some tasty treats in there. Ah, yes. And here you are talking about the same thing back in the chat. I was sending you something. Check your inbox there. Saffron says, I would love to learn some noise techniques, mainly because of space dust. I was experimenting with noise and layering pigments. Came out of some otherworldly soundscapes. Yeah, noise is probably the most important component in the the atmosphere side of big space stuff. And then EQ. Good, Paul. Yeah, I'm glad you're liking it. So yeah, we can absolutely talk about that. And in fact, we can dig into that right now. So I think I'm done bouncing stuff for the pack. I will wrap that up, zip it up, and I'll toss it in the Discord. And then we'll probably have our first little community challenge based off this little community pack here. So we're going to think about what that might be over the weekend collectively. You guys can toss out some ideas. I've got a couple brewing already. And speaking of contests and challenges, we do have a couple of partnerships that are starting to heat up in the background, and we're going to have some cool cross-channel competition creator kind of campaigns happening. That's going to be fun. And I'm really looking forward to the product reviews finally starting back up again next week and being in full video format. It's going to be nice. Let's look at some noise. I'm going to close out of this project right now, just in case it was the project that gave us a problem earlier. Yeah, I think maybe something's a little weird in that that project right now. All right, let's start fresh. Today's the 18th. You want to talk about noise and some creative ways to make noise, use noise. Space dust was the inspiration of this topic there, Nick. Is that right? Oh, excellent, Paul. I'm glad you got the sound pack. I'm glad that it came through. If anybody else had any issues redeeming points for the granular toppers pack, you just holler at me and I'll get that fixed right away. There are so many ways to make great noise. Oh, and you guys also wanted to talk a little bit of file management today, didn't you? Everybody was like, yeah, help me clean my Finder, clean up my folders. So, okay, so feedback, noise, and file management. And talk more updates. Don't forget, there's also a 65% off all sounds coupon floating around out there, you guys. Let me just put this down here for you. The discount code birthday 2020 can be entered at checkout at the OhmLab website right now. It takes 50% off of, oops, if you spell it right, it'll take 65% off of everything, even bundles, all the sounds on the OhmLab website right now. 65% off. So there you go. Share the code with friends. It's only good through the weekend. All right, so we're going to take a look at noise. I think that it's an always relevant and interesting topic for me, so I'm always happy to talk about it. There's so many tools. Like you can make noise with anything, number one. I personally like to get very, very creative when I'm creating new noise. Because I feel the more creative I am while I'm making it, the more creative I can be while I'm using it later. And I can give you some examples of that. There are no shortage of tools that you can use for this. I'm going to go absinthe. I can also show you in serum and massive and a couple other synths if you like, just to kind of give you an idea. But one of the nicest ways to make noise is by roughing up waveforms yourself. So let's just do that. And you can start with just a simple sine wave. And once you create a new wave inside of absinthe or serum or what have you, you can then start using transform tools to rough it up. And oftentimes you'll also have other options like FMing directly into that waveform, wave shaping / distortion / saturation. These are all kind of the same idea at their core in most synths at this level. And it's a really nice way just to add a kind of change to your waveform that people aren't expecting. Eric, thank you for stopping by. And we'll see you on the flip. But when you are choosing FM, it does give you a lot of control of moving in between something more tonal and something more atonal, which can be really, really helpful if you're creating something atmospheric or musical, right? If it's atmospheric and it's a non-musical element, like let's say you're scoring a video game or a film or something like that, you can tune your noise to the room or the scene to fit the mood better, right? If it's a deep, dark, dank kind of place, you're probably obviously going to be tuning that into a minor uh, situation on some level, and maybe even dissonant or dark, but that tonal quality puts it into a place, right? There's machines and things humming in this world, and if it's a light, positive kind of thing, you can do a little major, even like a major chord, and it's so subtle. Um, it's almost like this kind of subconscious um, thing happening. Anyway, uh, choosing what kind of modulator you're feeding into your carrier is obviously pretty important. Even if you take something as simple as a format-based wave, like this Vox Fem 2, if you just add just a couple ticks up, you're going to start seeing quite a bit of noise profile show itself. And you start cranking on the index, and you quickly get into white noise territory. But the big advantage of starting and using an approach like this to make the noise is that you have control via modulation. You have control over just how much life or life force this actually has. Sorry about that, Eric. But hey, you know what? Check out the archive when you're back. Video on demand should be available as soon as the stream ends. And on that note, you guys, it will be going to the sub only on the archives soon. So those who are enjoying watching these a few times over after they air, definitely make sure that you sub. It doesn't have to be any specific level of sub. And community members, if you see someone struggling to achieve sub 1 month, and you can help them out, pay it forward. Stuff always comes back around. The downside of going with just straight waveform initially versus dialing something in your oscillator and then going in and roughing up stuff is that you gain greater perspective on exactly what your sound is capable of if you load up your oscillator in advance. The other thing that I would suggest is playing around with morph waves instead, which you can easily do just by clicking away from simple waves into morph waves. You can click on any of these and then just click new, and it's going to bring you to the same waveform and spectrum window, except for this one, you now have two windows to choose, two little buttons to choose from here. It says morph wave, and then you can take advantage of that. A lot of people say that Absinthe is, light years behind wavetables, but this kind of gives you an equivalence of that. So this is the way that it works. You have two different waveforms, and you can go in and you can start to change these things however you like. And then you can morph between them. So this is how it will morph. You do get some control over exactly what the output is going to be like when you do morph. So this little dial here is going to be in charge of the transition outcome. Okay, so A, B, A, B. So you can change the number of anchor points that you use if you want to. But the idea here is that you're going to pick a few areas that will become kind of your pivot points, if you will, for said transition. So you see how nice and smooth that was? I just created these anchor points here. Let's move these around a little bit. See how it's updating exactly how this thing is morphing? It's a pretty significant difference, really. You can control, you know, like what area of the waveform is anchored. So I really like the smoothness of this one right here. It's got a lot of change over time. So what we'll do is we'll just leave this up at 100%, and then we go over to our LFO and we grab one of our modulator assignments here, and we'll just select oscillator main morph, and on that we'll keep oscillator A turned on, and we'll crank up our modulation depth. This is showing us the modulation depth of the assignment. This up here is the phase position and the timing or frequency or rate of said LFO. And this is the type of waveform, so we can just stick with a simple sine wave, and maybe we'll just bring this down in rate for right now. You can go between beat and seconds. And if we flip back over to our patch now, you'll see our waveform moving. Okay, so the magic of this is that obviously this is in motion now. So if you use something like this as a basis for a noise profile, you're going to get a noise profile that has movement and character and interest built into it at the very foundational level. And then when you send that into a huge reverb or whatever to create a quick atmosphere, that atmosphere moves and it's alive, right? So when you're talking about stuff like space dust, right, there's multiple things moving, and there's filters moving, and there's resonant peaks in those filters. But at the very core of it, there's also just kind of this undulation, this underlying current, if you will, in the waveform itself that everything is being generated from. So that's one huge pro tip right there, is just put the stuff into motion before you start FMing into it, or running whatever kind of process you're going to run to achieve the noisiness that you're after, and then work on your EQs and stuff. But yeah. Nice to see people chatting in here. All right, so what does that look like if we were to start doing that? Oh, let's bring that way back down. This is sounding pretty nice, right? Let's, I'm imagining that by this point we're probably pretty quiet here. Let's turn this up a bit. Maybe not quite that much for you. So here's a pretty decent noise profile right here. And if we were to start tossing this into something like, let's just go supermassive. It's super easy. And then if you want to take it farther, once you actually have some decent profiles that sound somewhat nice when you start sending them through reverb, then you can layer them on top of each other and start doing interesting things. Grain cube is a fun one to play with for stuff like that. So we can bounce some audio out there, and then we could turn around and we could roll that right into reaktor. I really should be using six. Okay. Let's see how many of my things I've moved over here. Speaking of grain cube, right here. And hey, look at that. This is, I believe, the one that I built, just a slightly altered version with my noise profiles in here. We'll see. No, this is the basic, but the idea here is the same, where what you're doing is you're taking, and this is a generator, so it's something you just have to actually power off. It's not controlled by your playhead. But what you're doing is you're pitting 4 different granular samplers against one another, and then you have a bunch of different trippy effects in play. There's position, which is playhead position, position jitter, okay, which is modulation of the playhead position. There's length, which is the length of the playback. Distortion, pitch shift, pitch slide, attack and decay. Boosters, which are EQ, basically, shelves. And then you've got filter and general delay and ring delay. And then each one of those, as its own sampler, is fed into a main matrix, which then also feeds into another module called Space Maestro. And Space Maestro is the overarching spatial environment that everything gets placed into. It's the big reverb. And then there's a mission control where you can choose which things are going to be affected by randomization, which is a big part of tools like this. It relies heavily upon randomization and movement. And then what you do is you load up, if you want to start from presets, you load up different sizes, basically. High silence, long sparse, short sparse, and slight pitch shift are the four that are in here by default, it looks like, but there are other options. And of course, you can set everything manually. And then once you hit go, once you turn it on, everything is set into motion. And it becomes really trippy and deep and immersive very, very quickly. Richard Devine and some other folks worked on this. Antonio Blanco. If you guys are familiar with S-Layer and what's the one that they made for the reactor library? That's just awesome. Wow. What the heck is it called? Polyplex. Fantastic piece of kit. But they make awesome things together. So this is the type of tool that you'd want to use, Nick, if you're really wanting to shoot for the same type of stuff that Space Dust offers, because it's the same type of general workflow. And you can achieve those sounds pretty easily with something like this once you start to understand the controls. And then if you want to have a really deep immersive set that you build with tools like this, what you would probably want to do then is just back it up with another generator. This is just to give you an overall bed that's going to be fairly organic. Here, let's just save this before I go further. Oh, hotkeys. Set up from the birthday stream on Wednesday. That's funny. Okay, so in this one, let's go back to files here, and Drone E is another one. So there's Space Drone. Yeah, I think we went over Grain Cube in a lesson at one point as well. There's Space Drone, where everybody that has reactor has these in factory selection R2. Okay, so the second rev of the factory library, which I think is like, I don't know, kontakt 7 or something like that. Kontakt, or I mean complete. So complete 6 maybe, I think is where this came in. So it's been around for a while. It's definitely old and incredibly valuable still. It's just a space generator. And it kicks out individual tones. It's kind of like an additive synthesis on that front, right? It's just a simple sine wave and a reverb kind of thing. You have control over fundamentals, movement, speed, resonance, attack and decay, dampening. One thing that I would point out, even to those who have been using this for a while, is that you should always check the B view on any reactor ensemble that you're playing with, especially something from the library, because chances are there's going to be something different. And on the B panel, visually it doesn't change very much, but this is where the controls for the actual effects are. So this is the size, the diffusion, the release, all that for the reverb, symmetry, frequency, everything. The front side is the noise control, or the sound control. So what these guys did is they made their own fork of Space Drone. So let's just kill that by bringing up Drone E here. And what they did with Drone E is they took those same the same concepts that were being introduced by Space Drone, but then they also added the same kind of tool sets that were introduced in GrainCube. Okay, and when you look at them side by side, you can kind of see some of the same tools at play here, right? Because reactor is all about building individual pieces and then connecting them in new ways. So these guys are masters of that, always have been. So this just gives you a way to introduce some sample manipulation alongside the space drone original build. So if you're using both of these simultaneously in a set or in a project, then you're going to end up with an incredibly immersive and, if you allow it to be, a nicely randomized, randomly generated set. And when you are making your own noises, you can get in here and do some really awesome things. So I'm just going to open up I wonder if we can actually just record directly in here. Hold on just a second. Oh, actually, I'm not going to do that because we're just going to open up some noise really quick, just to save a little bit of time, since I already showed you how I would go about making some noise. So these are just the noise samples from the noise pack, which you can grab from the site. Right now with the birthday code, it's only $3.50 for any of the $10 packs. Definitely don't miss out on that. But we can toss any of the samples in here. Let's do a